I spent lots of time on that opener.
Yeah, that was a doozy.
Lots of time, many takes.
Hey, you know what? You look great. You look great. And
Hey,
it looked like
thanks.
you were hard at work.
Yeah, I was. It was very hard at work.
You had a lot to do.
As I usually am.
Right. That's right.
Yep.
Benj, you cannot even joke about that because you are. Hi, Aim Face.
Hi, Aim Face.
Look at this precious Aim.
Yes.
Thanks for being here tonight, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
For the passion of the Ben Thiecie.
Yeah, so here we are. Passion project. We haven't done a passion project as the kids would say, in a grip.
In a minute.
In a minute, yes.
The kids do not say that, Ben. I said that in high school.
What, a grip?
A grip.
Oh. I never said that in high school. You're older than me, though, so.
Fair. This was like the 30s.
Yeah, right. It feels like the 30s
right.
was like when we started Daleko Arts.
It does. It feels like the 30s was November.
Yeah, that's right. Aim Face, yes, the date night sausage.
Aim Face.
We're going to show you. So, like, when we were thinking about, we only have a couple of passion projects left. I think mine and maybe Chris Karki, and that's it. Then we're done.
Well, no, we have Bobby and Liz too.
Oh, that's right, Bobby and Liz. Yeah. So we're rounding it out. And for mine, so I have many passions.
And what's a passion project? What do we do?
Oh, well, yeah. If you're new, a passion project is something that we came up with. One of the first things that we came up with, right, Amanda?
Yeah.
Where we thought it would be fun to allow our patrons to get to know our ensemble a little bit better. We're an ensemble theater company. We have an ensemble of 8.
We do, yes.
8 people. And and so what we thought we'd do is we would pair each ensemble member up with a month in the DHI calendar, and we would have them share with our patrons something that they're passionate about that does not have to do with theater on stage, their work on stage. So I'm cheating a little bit here because this has to do with Daleko, but it's not on stage really. It's not theater. No. I wouldn't count it as theater.
I wouldn't either. I feel like this is an entirely specific and new skill.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I thought I would choose that. There are lots of things I love to do, but this one is very specific to these pandemic times, because had this not happened, I would not be paying attention. Like when we first started date night, I didn't know anything about live streaming on YouTube. I could not have cared less about any of that. And so I sort of just dove headfirst in and learned as much as I could in as short a time as I could.
So can I interview you?
Yeah.
Or should I not? Do you just want to?
You can yeah, sure. For the just full transparency here, folks, this one's going to be as informal as you will ever see anything. Like, I would love it if you have questions at all, or, and it doesn't have to be just about the tech. We have gotten some questions about tech throughout the course of the DHI season, like, what camera do you use? What lighting stuff? What this, what that? And so we'll show you all of that stuff too. But if you're not into the tech side and you want to know some of the backstory on how we got started with the whole DHI season, feel free to ask that too. Just anytime throughout this, however long, half hour, whatever, just throw questions in the chat and we'll answer them for you.
And Patrick is also in the chat. So Patrick, if you see something and you can answer the question, go for it.
They were. We did a couple of test runs of date night. And yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda, but I think every test that we did was like just burned in fiery flames. It was awful.
Horrific.
Yeah, every single one.
We looped in like friends, the ensemble, our families, whoever, just like 2 or 3 people at a time, just trying to test the waters. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Because so first of all, Benj, what is DHI?
Yeah, the DHI is short for Daleko Home Invasion. And that's just what we are calling this season, this pandemic season. And it's all, this virtual season. It's a subscription box. People pay whatever they would like per month to join in on the fun, and we just put together as many silly virtual live streaming things as we possibly can. That's about it. And it was just really, we put it together initially as a way to stay connected with our patrons and to keep our patrons connected, because we knew if we sat for an entire year or more, it's looking like it'll probably be more than a year, that our audience would maybe forget about us and forget about each other. Mm-hmm. And that sounded no good, especially when we had just spent 9 seasons cultivating an awesome audience and making connections with all of you. So we thought to let that all sort of sit and erode for 12, 18 months, whatever it's going to be before we're back on stage, that just didn't seem right for us.
And so it's our job.
It's our job. Yeah, it's our job. And, coming up at the end of last season, at the very beginning of the pandemic, we got such an outpouring of individual support from our patrons. And so we actually ended the season with a surplus, which is kind of crazy for a theater company. It doesn't happen very often. And so we felt obligated to use that to continue. Like, we didn't want to just sit on that. We wanted to use it to try to create some more stuff to help, like I said, stay connected. So.
And just so we keep ourselves honest, Ben, you're kind of a tech nerd. Like, you love technology, right?
Yeah, I do. I really do dig tech. I'm always like the first one to buy the new stupid tech thing, even if it's ridiculous and I don't need it. I just am really into that.
Yes.
And so it did sort of marry a couple of my favorite things. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and this started because, as Patrick's kind of alluding to, like 4 of us sitting around on FaceTime or whatever, laughing about funny ideas for what we could do or how it might work or, whatever. And then suddenly everybody kind of went, no, wait a second. that might actually work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Benj, what's useful to you? Do you want to talk about the very beginning, which was, DHI was kind of born from one event, right?
Right.
Which was what?
Well, when we first started, there was that moment in like April-ish.
Of 2020.
2020 of last year, where the entire theater community was sort of feeling like, I could feel us all sort of, nobody could be on stage anymore. Everything was getting canceled left and right. Our show included. Spelling Bee was canceled. Our last Friends of Friends performance was canceled. And so everyone sort of had this burning desire to like do something. And we felt that way too. We were like, what should we do? And, one of our thoughts, we thought about like putting together some sort of streamed reading, and we sort of hit that back and forth. And I don't know how we landed on the trivia thing. Did we see a trivia thing?
I think a bunch of our friends, like, it came out of some conversations. Patrick had mentioned like some of, he'd seen some different trivia events. We saw Mike Fotis's. So some of our friends were messing around with ideas that were peripheral to what we were thinking about, because we kept thinking like, what's a way that the audience could talk to each other, mm-hmm. but also we could do something fun. And hat tip all of the respect and all the heart to our friends who were doing readings online at that time, just reading scripts together, but it was not our bag. It didn't feel that interesting at that time. They've come up with all kinds of neat things now. But
yeah, it did for like a hot second. We were really excited about that, and then the more we talked about it with our ensemble, the more it just didn't seem right for us.
No, it wasn't us.
And so the date night thing was what we decided we would do as like a test, to test the waters, to see if we were capable of doing something online, because we knew nothing about it. If our patrons would even want to do something online, because we didn't know how into it you guys would be. And so, so we were like, let's do date night a couple of times and see how that goes. And then if it goes well, then we'll pursue this online virtual season idea.
Okay, so how did it start?
Yes, Kendra, you
Yes,
can absolutely
Kendra.
submit
Yes,
for
Kendra.
future shows.
Yes.
For sure, for sure. Sorry, what did you say?
So talk us like beginning. Here we are. It's April 20, it's like the end of March, early April 2020. We are in cold panic about public health, our futures, everybody's future, the world, whatever, right?
Yeah.
We come up with this idea. All right, we're going to try date night. So, humble beginnings. How did it start?
So the first thing I did is I started watching a ton of YouTube like streaming channels.
Okay.
And
Since we're being informal, I'm just gonna
to try and figure out how they were doing it, what were some of the best practices. And a lot of them were terrible, but a couple of them were really, really good and had really amazing ideas. And the first thing that we used, so the first thing we did was we got a switching program so that we could go, we had something that would take us from one camera to the others. So like, you know, we could go back and forth like this. But
we didn't have that right away, did we?
We did have that right away.
Okay.
But we used a different software. We first started with a software called Switcher Studio, and what Switcher Studio was it's built for Apple products, and you can use any of your iPhones or iPads with the cameras, right? So each one of your iPhones would become a camera. You could set those up, and then if they're all on the same wireless network, then you can use them to switch back and forth with. So that was the first thing that we used. That's the first date night. We used Switcher Studio and our own iPhones.
And that's an app. That's not like a module.
It's software. So it's an app. You pull up the app on your phone and connect your phones to the situation, and then you stream through Switcher Studio and use their app to switch back and forth.
Okay.
That's why if you look at some of the earlier date nights, some of the switching is animated and has a different sort of look than what we use now, because what we use now is not Switcher
It's
Studio.
got like the PowerPoint like slide out or whatever. Okay.
Yes. So here is a photo of our first setup. This was the first setup that we had in our living room when we did date night.
This is DHI headquarters, number one.
Yep, we had we went to the theater and we got those that plastic table. But this is after we had purchased some equipment too.
And friends, this is our home.
Yeah, that's our living room. But we had, you know, that's where Amanda sat. That music stand worked as a tripod, so we would tape the phone to that music stand.
Yes, that's right.
And then the big TV is where, yes, this was way pre-Buzzy.
Way pre-Buzzy.
This was actually in the summertime. We probably took this in like May-ish.
Okay.
The big TV is where Amanda could see what was happening on the live stream.
Yep, my monitor.
As you can see, very high-tech situation to keep that mic up, that dumbbell down there, and we had lights hanging from that coat rack on the left.
And that was like kind of a gimmick for us. Like we would tell people like, folks, we've got lighting instruments hanging from coat racks. That was the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, that was absolutely the truth. I actually have let me play a little bit of the very first.
Oh no.
The very first one. Let me see if I can get it going. Oh crap, I lost it.
Okay, you can find it.
Why does it always disappear on me?
Friends, if you do have questions for Ben that you want to know anything about, like, you know, some of you may have different interests. Some of you may have just Daleko Art's historical interests. Some of you might be interested in the specifics of the technology. Throw your questions in the chat. When you see me glancing down, I'm just going to be checking on questions. Ben usually does this, but I'm going to try to give him a little bit of a break here while he's chatting. So we'll see. I'm going to just scroll through here and see if you've asked anything.
Here we go.
Okay, great. Here we go.
I wonder if I can get this. Can I get this? Hold on.
Hold please. Oh, I'm already just...
For a little Daleko Arts trivia tonight. I know, folks, that it appears that we are here tonight.
I want to show you the opening. So
my very charming co-host.
when we switch this, you can see like the animation, which we don't have anymore.
Host Ben TG.
Okay.
See that smooth animation? I wish we still had that, but we do not. We don't have Switcher Studio anymore. But our audio sounds much better now because we have better mics. We have a much better tech situation now. But that was the very first date night setup, which was crazy.
It was crazy. And the funny thing was, Kendra, no. I wish I could say something funny, but actually
During.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's kind of nerve-wracking. Don't you think, Benj? I mean, now we have a thing
It's not
going.
anymore,
Yeah.
but when we first started, it was the scariest thing in the world. I was so nervous every single time we would fire this thing up.
It really
crazy.
was.
Yeah.
And then friends would always call. We would finish the show, like both of us like in cold sweats. Ben would end the show and we'd both be like, oh, we did it. And then our phones would both just blow up with friends calling or texting to be like, you did it. You made it through another one. Because they knew we were so nervous.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons I think that we decided we needed to move away from Switcher Studio because, well, there were a couple of reasons. First, it was all wireless. It relied on your Wi-Fi situation. And anytime you're doing any sort of tech situation, wireless is not as reliable, not nearly as reliable as wired. So, and we learned that the hard way a few times. So we wanted to get away from that so that we could make sure everything was hardwired so that we couldn't have any blips or bloops due to the Wi-Fi crapping out on us or whatever. So that was one reason. Then the other reason was what you just mentioned. We could never use our phones during an event because we were using them as our camera. So people would be like, Patrick would be texting, hey, your audio's bad or something. And we had no idea because our phone was right here, And
here's the thing I will say, though, a takeaway, your phone, if you have an iPhone or you have a smartphone that's up to date, it is a fantastic film studio, actually.
It really worked well for us. And if we weren't doing this for an entire season, I think we would have stuck with Switcher Studio and been like, that's A-okay, we don't need to do anything else. But because we knew we were going to need to do this reliably for an entire season, we wanted to up the game a little bit.
Well, and also, we never dismantled it from our living. That was our living room for what, Ben? 5 months?
Yeah, we wanted to get out of our house.
Yeah, we could not take. You were like walking through, tripping on cords in the morning, pre-coffee, whatever. That's a great question, Amy. Actually,
the date night theme song is a royalty-free piece of music from YouTube. YouTube Studio has a bunch of mostly crappy royalty-free music that you can use, and then if you use that music, you can't get any copyright complaints or any strikes filed against you. And so we used a piece of music from that.
We were trying really hard to make this as low impact on our budget as humanly possible, and really, it can be done.
Yeah. What's the most valuable thing you've learned during DHI?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think I would say this, Patrick. I think the future looks different than we can possibly comprehend in our field right now. I have never been. I'm like Ben. I've never really been afraid of tech. I'm not a techie like he is, but I think that technology is going to be absolutely central to the theater art making that we do going forward. That's what I think I've learned. And I'm very, very excited about it. The mix of human beings and what they create via technology, the creativity that is wrapped up in that, to me is astonishing. I'm very excited about the future, more so than I would have been.
Yeah, I think we underestimated the importance of connection in all of this.
Yeah.
Initially, I think in my brain, I was just thinking like, I want to make sure that our patrons keep Daleko on their minds so that when we come back, we don't lose seeing live theater is sort of a habitual thing. At least that's what we want it to be. You don't usually go to theater just randomly, like, well, you know what I feel like tonight? I'm going to go see some theater.
I mean,
it's usually a thing, like for normal people, it's usually a thing that you do because you always do it, right? Like you have the season and you go once a month or once a quarter or whatever. And so we didn't want to lose that connection, but I underestimated how much that I would need that during this pandemic, just the connecting with the other people, even if it's through the chat or whatever.
We also underestimated the natural comedians that we have in our audience. The chat is one of my favorite things to read. It's hysterical every single time we do a show.
Fun.
Yeah, there are 2 questions, Benj, if you could, gotten any great pests with this amazing idea?
Press is our biggest weakness. We never can figure out how to get press. We send out press releases all the time.
We've hired teams of professionals to put together work for us.
We got a tiny bit of press for this, but not a lot.
No.
Unfortunately.
I would not say. And you know what the bottom line is, what we've learned? Somebody said to us kind of at the beginning of last year, if somebody's watching you do the work, you're not doing the work, which ends up being, I mean, we can roll our eyes at that, but in a way, you kind of have to kill your ego in this process and just know that even though you want people to say, hey, they had that idea first, or, it might not happen. And we're in an environment that we knew would be kind of constructed that way. New Prague is not urban metropolis, even though it's not, in the middle of a cornfield necessarily either. Although I wouldn't say, Benj, would you, I would say New Prague is rural by American theater standards.
Yeah, definitely.
So we sort of knew coming in, like, we're doing this, we are creating this for a very specific community of humans who are staying connected to each other. So I don't know. It's a bummer. It is a real bummer about press, but also it's not the work.
Well, I think the reason that it's kind of a bummer sometimes is that we are a part of the Twin Cities theater community.
Yes.
But the press doesn't necessarily see it that way. The artists do. As if you would ask a Twin Cities theater artist, Daleko Arts is a part of the Twin Cities theater community. If you asked somebody from the press, somebody from the Star Trib, they might say, what's Daleko Arts, right? They maybe would not think that something that far out would be part of the Twin Cities theater community. So,
and we feel like we're in a good spot because while the Strib is not necessarily coming down to review our shows, when we post an audition announcement, the audition slots fill up within a matter of hours. So that feels good. Artists like our work and are proud of us.
Yeah. Spinning Taco. That was, I think we came up with that going into the second date night or third maybe. We came up with it right away.
Soon, yeah.
I don't remember how.
You thought of it.
Yeah, but I don't remember how or why.
I kind of do. It was born out of a need to gamify the process a little more. We were trying to come up with like fun ways that the audience would be able to interact. That they would feel like they were participating and it wasn't just us up here yapping for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I remember now. So I watched some video where they were talking about online fundraising, and one of the things that they did that I thought was really interesting was certain events or certain things would trigger other things that would happen. So things in the chat would trigger a balloon to blow up, or things in the chat would trigger confetti to blow off. And they had all these fun things that were connected to the tech that would allow that to happen. We didn't have any of that, but I thought we could still do that. Like if the audience got a terrible score, that would trigger something. And then I don't know how Spinning Taco was found. It was probably just me being stupid. Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole on the internet and found the Spinning Taco. I think if you go to spinningtaco.com, that's what that is. That's the Spinning Taco. And it just spins for as long as you have the browser tab open. And same with the Chihuahua. It's just a website, spinningchihuahua.com, I think.
You're kidding.
Nope. There was another one I wanted to use. If you remember, it was called Chicken on a Raft.
Oh, I love chicken. And then it had a theme song.
Yep, Chicken on a Raft, something like that. I can't remember if it's still there. Somebody can
Is it
check.
chickenonaraft.com?
I think so, but it would just sing the song over and over again. It was just Chicken on a Raft. And that was another one that we considered, but we couldn't at the time get that song in. That song was copyrighted.
Oh.
So we used the spinning taco. And again, the spinning taco music is from the free copyright YouTube page.
Okay. So
and same with the song and the Chihuahua stuff.
So to throw a bone to your fellow tech nerds out there, we make the move. We decide we got to get out of our house if we're going to legitimize this in any way, right? And in this interim, we're talking to the ensemble, to our board president, Patrick, to the rest of our board, the officers, and like coming up with this idea like, okay, if we can't be back in person, the date night thing is really kind of a thing. It's working. We're building community this way in the way that we want to and is mission rooted for Daleko Arts. So all of that happened, and then we decide we're going to have to make an actual studio if we're going to be doing these events all season, right?
Yeah.
So what next?
Yeah, so we thought, do we need to have a studio at the theater, somewhere where we can set the stuff up and it can be permanent and we don't have to have it take over our living room? And so what we did was we figured out where we wanted to put it in the theater space, which is we decided on a room just off the lobby. The new bathroom, if those of you who are familiar with our lobby, the new bathroom, there's a door right next to it. That's another little room that we had been using for storage. So we cleaned all of that storage out, and then we just turned this room into the studio. And we also use the stage once in a while too, when social distancing needs to happen. But yeah, that's what we did. And then we started buying equipment that we needed.
So the only people who have been in this studio are you and me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Shelby asked a question that I feel we should address, which is, do you have to be from New Prague? Absolutely not.
No.
You are an honorary New Prager, Shelby, by the way.
We have lots of out-of-towners
We do.
involved in DHI. So
we do. Lots of
that's why
out-of-staters.
when we first started this, we kept putting the times in. We'd be like, this is at 7:30 or this is at 8. And then my sister, Casey, reminded me that some people are not in the central time zone. So we had to start putting central on there too, just to remind everyone that because this was the first time we'd have ever had patrons from, regular season patrons from out of state. So that was pretty fun and cool.
So, Benj, can you describe, for those people who've been to the Prague Theater before, where we are? Describe it.
Yeah, let me see if I can fire up the camera over here. Why? I just want to show them.
Okay.
I set up I connected my phone like the old days, and I'm going to see if it's been kind of wonky, but if it works, then I can show you around the studio.
Oh, wait, okay. You guys are still here?
Let's see. Yeah, they're still here.
Oh, you guys, I don't know. We might not be ready for prime time quite yet.
I hope this isn't the thing that's been screwing up the stream.
Wait, so while we're doing this, let me just take a quick break and peruse. Patrick, I hope you're oh, good. Yay, Sophs is here too. Okay, awesome. So Sophs is also...
Hey, there we go. Okay, so they might not be able to hear me super well because I'll be off.
Okay, Sophs and Patrick, you guys step in if people have questions right now, if you don't mind. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, so here's where we are. I'll open the door.
You guys, it's been a while since any of you have been in here.
This goes right out to the lobby, and there is the bathroom right there. So we're in this little room right off the lobby. And then, that's where we put Buzz if he comes around. We have a little LED colored light there. We broke out the music stand for old time's sake. That's where I'll put the phone when we're done with it. And then we have just a couple of lights right there, more LED lights for Amanda.
Look at Ben's really fancy curtain hang.
Yeah. This is, you'll have to maybe, I'll be
Do you want me to move?
Here. No.
Oh, okay.
Tell them.
Okay, so Ben spent, you guys, and I'm not exaggerating when I say days, literal weeks, in fact, of time, 40-hour work weeks, experimenting, watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out what makes the best kinds of casts like this. And one of the things he learned is that dimension is really useful in creating an interesting space for the camera. So he hung this curtain and put lights behind it in order to create dimension for the camera behind me, to grab your eye and pull it back so that the room seems like it has depth, even though literally this room is, what would you say, Ben, 12 by 10?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably...
It's a tiny room.
It's probably you're 5 feet in front of that curtain.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
because we have a nice lens on it, it looks a lot better than
it
that.
does.
But yeah, the curtain is just something we pulled out of storage and we duct taped that with some silly Christmas lights onto that. It's a little messy here.
And we just set up that little bookshelf in the back, right? Like just for fun.
Yeah. And there's some front light for Amanda, her tiny camera.
Can you talk about this pole?
Yeah, these poles are, so, yeah, this is probably hard to, but they go from top to bottom, and I think they're used in, like, construction and stuff.
Oh.
Painters will use them to, like, hold stuff up. We're using them to, like, you know, so we have somewhere to hang the arms for our cameras. So,
okay, cool.
And I can't remember what they're called exactly. I think I had them right here. Yeah. That's what they are.
Oh, that's what they are.
Yeah.
Wow, Benj.
And they're pretty slick. You can you can make them go, I think, as much as 15 feet wide. So you could put them across,
this way, across the room,
or vertically, or however you want to do.
Wow.
This. Yeah.
Okay, so what have you got right there in front of you?
So in front of me here, we've got a couple of things. So first of all, we bought a new Mac because the old computers that we had were not gonna cut it. Our laptops were not good enough. So we got a desktop to run the show.
Right.
And then we have this little guy. This is it's called a Stream Deck. You can program it to switch back and forth. So, here is Amanda. If I hit this, it switches to Amanda. If I hit this, it switches to me. Back to the phone. You can touch these little buttons to switch back and forth. That makes it a lot easier for us to switch on the go. We bought this microphone. We bought a few of these, actually. These are called pod mics. Really good microphone for not that much money, which is awesome. This is our audio interface. It's called a Rodecaster Pro, and this makes it really easy to set up the sound. And, it comes with these little buttons so we can do... on the fly sound effects if we need to do that. So that works really well.
But that's not where something like CryCam comes from. That's a different situation, right?
Yeah. Okay. CryCam is something different.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Cameras are here. Lenses, we got a couple of Sony A50-100s is what we ended up buying.
Okay.
And those are... they're hard to find now because they're a little on the older side, but we got them open boxed at Best Buy, so we got a really sweet deal on those things.
How much would you say that? Do you remember, roughly speaking, just
what
for people who are thinking about putting their studio together?
I think we spent, I want to say we got them for about $450 a piece.
Okay.
Because they were open box, and we didn't care about. They had scratches on them or whatever on the outside. We didn't care.
Okay.
So those, but the thing that that really makes the picture work is the filter. And so we got, let me see if I can find the filters in here. We've started with these filters, these little newer 35 millimeter filters, and those worked really well for a while. They looked really nice. The reason we switched to something else was they didn't have autofocus, so when we started to move around and things, when we had Daleko After Dark stuff, we needed to get something with autofocus. And so we went to, this was the first one we got, a Sigma 16 millimeter. That's not what we paid for it because we didn't get this bundle. But we got that, and then we got a Sigma 30 millimeter, which is the one that you are on right now. So, yep, we did get a couple of those, and that we did that stuff when we got a really nice grant from the Prairie Lakes Regional Arts Council that helped us pay for some of this equipment, and that's how that worked.
And to be clear, you've seen a couple of things in the DHI season that happened on the Prague stage. Most of those are solo shows or couple shows. The only other sort of Daleko crafted event that you've seen on the stage is when Tony, Sophie, Jack Perner, and I do Daleko After Dark. And you guys, Ben TG, line produces that whole thing. But not only that, he drags almost all of this equipment into the theater, into the Prague where you're used to seeing shows, sets the whole thing up, situates cameras so you can see all three artists at work, and then does the whole thing from there. So it's not a small gig what he's got going on, really.
There's a lot of crazy crap going on. It's a lot of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it all works really well, and I think for the most part it's doing its job.
So how do you do things like, do you have a plan, Benjamin?
No, I didn't plan anything.
Okay, great.
I planned a little bit.
Okay. Am I in your way?
No.
Okay.
No.
So let's say you're doing.
Thanks, Shelby.
I mean, Shelby, he really is. You guys, Ben TG, I have to tell you, if you want a guy to hang out during a pandemic with, this one right here.
Tony, Stream Deck is awesome.
So,
and by the way, Stream Deck, I'll put in a little plug for the Stream Deck. There are different sizes. We have the big one, but there are ones with smaller amounts of keys on them, and so they're less expensive. And there's even a Stream Deck app that turns your smartphone into a Stream Deck. And so I think you can get one as small as maybe 6 keys. But you can use them for all sorts of different things. It's not just for video switching. You can program it to hold all sorts of shortcuts for any workflow that you use. So like if you wanted to, you can push a button to open up Word doc, or push a button to turn your computer off, stuff like that. That is
really?
So it can be really useful just for everyday work too. Yeah.
Wow.
They're really sweet.
Wow, especially if you work remotely and you've got to have like sort of your command center set up.
Yeah.
And base.
Yeah, they're super cool for switching, I think. And it's really, there's a lot of functionality to it besides what what we do it.
Okay, so Amy asked, when you've got an event like when you do, Ben is super creative with the layovers. You know how you lay stuff onto people, you make me a taco, whatever. How do you do it? Can you tell us without messing yourself up?
CryCam. How does CryCam work?
Yeah.
Yes. And so this is how we have been. I don't know if any of you stopped by Noodle Pie Island last Saturday, but we use this same thing for Noodle Pie Island, but it's a thing called SnapCam.
SnapCam.
Camera.
Camera.
Let me see if I can get our thing back here. Here we go. So Snap Camera, what is that? Snapcamera.snapchat.com. And
they're like Snapchat filters,
yes.
basically.
Yeah, it's an app that you download, and you can basically put Snapchat filters over your webcam stuff. So if you're in a Zoom meeting, you can just put a filter over yourself.
Like the cat lawyer.
Like the cat lawyer. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I will say in advance, it's really, it takes a lot of something with your computer. I'm not a super techie guy in terms of computer, but it takes a lot of computer processing to run.
It takes a lot of heart and gumption.
So, but it's a free download, so download it and see if your computer can handle it, and if so, it's really fun to use. Like you can just search for any filters that you want and just throw them over your face. It's fun. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, am I stepping? Where were you planned?
No, this is the next thing I was going to do. I was just going to give them a quick tour of what we use now, which is called Ecamm.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
So Ecamm, once we switched from Switcher Studio, we went to this program called Ecamm, and that is basically it's a live streaming switching studio software solution. And let me I can put it in live demo mode so you can see what I see.
Okay.
Yes, there we go. So this is what I'm seeing when we're producing a show for DHI. So we've got scenes over here on the upper left, and when I press play on one of them, it will switch to whatever camera we've programmed it to switch to. And then I've programmed those into the Stream Deck so that I don't have to come over here and just click all of these. Oh. But it allows you to put folders in, so we have all our shows sitting here, and you can just pull up whatever show we're doing and hit that thing.
Oh, okay. So for instance, go to like Daleko After Dark. Like, what does that look like? So that's like a totally different, because that's in a different space, right?
Where was it?
It's right there, right? Go down.
Right here, yeah. Yeah, so we just have these cameras that we use. Tony 3, Jack 3, all three of you, Tony Amanda, Tony Jack, Amanda Jack.
Split screens.
Yep. So you just have those ready to go then if you want to use them.
Got it.
And then as you can see, all the chat comes in down here, so I can see any of this stuff, and I can, if I hit this button down here, if I hit on Toby's face, it pops him up on there.
Oh.
Is it free? No, this stuff is not free. Ecamm is a monthly fee. I can't remember what exactly the monthly fee is. It's not too bad.
Even the Snapchat filters?
Snapchat filter, the Snap camera is free.
Okay.
Yeah, Snap camera is free.
But like ballpark, Patrick. Yeah, Kendra. So ballpark, like what, roughly, do you know? Ecamm, for instance. What's the subscription for it?
We could look it up real quick.
Well.
Ecamm.
Are you sending me, let me Google that for you.com?
No, I'm just going to look it up real quick. Let's see. So Ecamm Live, where is it? Do they have the pricing here?
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I think it was, I don't remember what it was monthly because we paid for an entire annual subscription. It was cheaper that way.
Cool.
I want to say it's like maybe $20 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's your business, I mean, if you're,
it's not very expensive.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's how that is. It allows you to throw up overlays, so you can put stuff on screen like that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff you can do with Ecamm. We're just scratching the surface right now, but I don't want to get too in the weeds.
And then it shows you your sound levels too. Like this is totally command center.
Yeah,
okay.
Sound levels are up here, so I can tell if something wonky is happening. Yeah, that's about it for that.
Cool.
Toby, it's snapcamera.snapchat.com, I think. But just Google Snap Camera. Snap Camera is what you're looking for. I don't want to give away all my secrets.
Yeah, no.
Some things I need to hold to myself. Yeah. Kathy asked, where do we get our trivia questions?
That's a great question.
Yeah, so that's another service that we use. It's called crowdpurr.com.
Crowd.
PURR.com.
Okay.
And that's it's the trivia situation. It's anytime we have polling. It's all of that. And then they have you can make up your own questions, but then they also have a super deep database of questions, and they add new questions every week. And so we just pull questions from CrowdPurr and use those, and then occasionally we'll throw in one of our own or something, but it's just easier, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on questions because they have good questions. That's why every once in a while you'll see a word misspelled or something, because we would never make a mistake like that. That's always crowd purr.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wheel of Names is actually, that's another thing that's just online. It's called wheelofnames.com, I think.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
You guys, you can find how all of the sausage is made.
It's just online.
Your favorite date night thing.com. Wow. Who knew?
It's important to remember Ben is doing all his tech work.
Yes.
That is true.
Super important.
It is. That's why every once in a while, I'll be like, Amanda, please come and help this thing, because I need a little bit of time. There was one show. What was the show that I did by myself? It made me want to poop a little bit, because I was constantly having to try to read the comments and switch at the same time, and it was very nervy.
Soph's passion project, because
yes.
I had rehearsal.
Yes, that was tricky. So it's always fun to have a second person around that I can just throw it to, who will chat for a while I do the things that I need to do with eCam or whatever.
And you will always know that Ben is in the weeds if you see me in the chat, because I'm trying to sort of help navigate, what questions or what, comments or whatever people are saying. But yay!
That's awesome.
Amos! Yay!
Cool. I want to play.
Yeah, we want to play. Well, now we know. Spinningtaco.com.
I don't remember that either, really. It was another one of those, we want to trigger something. We wanted to add another thing that would happen, that might happen. So Word of Champions is what we thought of, and then I don't know how. We
were also trying to figure out, what are fun ways of asking questions, that it's not just multiple choice. So
yeah.
Again, I feel like I need to reiterate this. This is not an exaggeration. Ben has, for many months, spent 40 hours a week doing research. And some of it was super goofy like this, but it also ends up paying off in the back end, because he has this enormous toolkit of resources that are both creative and technological, that can support the work. So, but
Listen,
it is
don't make me sing.
Don't make me sing. It's true.
It is. This is a lot of detail. Hope you're writing it down, Kendra.
Yeah, Kendra. Make sure you write it down.
Yes, Tony. Wheel of Names is awesome. And I looked all over the internet for wheel situations, and Wheel of Names is the best one, and it's not even close.
Okay.
Every other one is just doesn't have that fun factor. Wheel of Names feels like an actual wheel. The animation is great. It's fun.
Your faces in
you can put different pics in the middle, and you can save your creation. It allows you to save.
You guys can be like, what am I going to have for dinner tonight?
And it's free. I mean, the guy doesn't ask for any money for it, which I think is crazy.
That is. Maybe we need to have a date night fundraiser for him.
Yeah. No, Donnie, those are actually my drawings.
No. Let's be really clear here, Donnie, about this answer.
That was, it came to be because I am really terrible at drawing, and I it's a source of frustration in my life. But it's also really funny, so yeah.
Benj, don't be hard on yourself.
What else?
Okay, so I have a sort of philosophical question that Patrick asked kind of early on, and we were in technology weeds.
Yeah.
How do you program a season like this? You and I, can you just talk about what it means to sit down and think about, okay, if we're going to do shows that are like this, right? This is the stage right here, or that's the stage. How do you do it? What are the kinds of things you think about?
Well, for us, what we did was we got the ensemble together early on, and we just brainstormed, and we started a Google Sheet where everybody could contribute to it, and we just said, any idea that you have, even if you think it's totally stupid or crazy or can't be done or whatever, throw it into this sheet, and then we'll have a bunch of ideas that, even if they aren't workable right on the sheet, we can pull them out and think about how to maybe make them work. And we had way more stuff than good ideas that we could use, way more than we could use. Like there's a bunch of stuff on there that we passed over that would be awesome, that I wish we could do. And we just ran out of time. Because one of the things we found out right away was that we were over programming DHI. So
what do you mean by that?
The first box, I think the first month of the first box, we had maybe 2 things a week. And it was just too much. And after a while, you could feel our audience be like, they felt obligated to tune in. And then that was just too much to tune into. Yeah. And then we started to think about, well, yeah, when we're doing a regular theater season, they're coming to Daleko. They're doing a Daleko thing once a quarter, maybe twice.
Right.
So we pulled way back on programming. And because of that, there's a lot of stuff on that Google Sheet that we'll never use or won't use for a while. That is really great and fun. And we had this one of my favorite ideas that never got we never put into reality was called Singo. Do you remember that?
I someday, man.
Yeah, this is something we might try to do live, so maybe I shouldn't talk about it. Don't steal our idea, but
copyright by Thiecie.
Yeah, it's a combination of bingo and karaoke. So people would sing, and then you'd have a bingo card full of maybe lyrics or things that might happen while somebody's singing karaoke, and so you're playing bingo while you're listening to the person sing karaoke. And if you miss the lyric, then you miss the spot on your card. Yeah, I think that it would work best live, which is why we probably pulled it out of DHI. But someday we're going to do Singo. Stay tuned. At the Prague for sure.
So, Benj, does this, think about what it feels like during a regular season? Because, Ben and I sort of come to this space as dual faces of the organization, but the frank truth of it is that you run the show. I mean, Ben is working full time, making all of this happen. So talk about your energy level. Is it harder? Does it take more energy to do this or a live season?
For sure this.
Really?
Yeah, but that's because I don't know what I'm doing as much for this. Okay. This is more of me learning on the fly, whereas theater is something that I was trained to do over the course of several years. So several. Yeah, several. So and because this is just more frequent. There's a show, we just finished Noodle Pie Island on Saturday, and then this is Tuesday, we're doing this, and then there's another Noodle Pie Island on Saturday. But there's a date night and there's date night, so there's just something all of the time that you need to be prepping for, whereas with theater season, you usually have a couple of weeks of downtime before you get into the crunch of a show. So. Right. But it's not super hard work. It's just relentless. It's never, it's once you finish Noodle Pie Island, the clock is ticking on Passion Project. And once we finish this, the clock's ticking on date night. And it's just always, it's just always coming for you. So this is kind of a question that will resonate with the vast majority of the world. If you were doing a show live tonight, if our audience here in the chat was in the Prague, what would feel like it took more energy? Talking to the audience or being on camera? Is that for me? Yeah. Sorry, what did you say? Oh my gosh. I was scrolling through You guys are really getting a glimpse of how the sausage is made. I was scrolling through the comments. Oh, okay. Sorry. That's all right. So if everybody in the chat tonight were in the Prague and you were talking to them live, just sitting in a folding chair, would that take more energy from you? Forget about the prep, or does this? You know what I mean? On camera work or live? I think on the streaming is more stressful. Okay. Because at any given moment, we are just putting our trust in the technology. Yeah. And at any given moment, before we went live tonight, something was happening. Ironically. We tried to go live, I think, 3 times, and every time bounced back and said, there's an error, so we stopped your stream, and so we just couldn't get the stream started. And I didn't know why it was happening, so I had no idea how to troubleshoot it.
Yeah.
And I was like, if this just keeps happening, I don't know how we'll do the show tonight. Whereas if we were doing a live Q&A, it's just everybody sit in the house and we sit on stage and then we just talk at each other. So the technology makes it a little trickier. And luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had any catastrophic failures like that yet in DHI. But it's going to happen. I guarantee it. Someday we're going to be set up for a show and just the internet is going to go out on us, or we're going to have a power failure or something. And then just in the middle of a show, boom, we're out.
But in a way that kind of feels like old school theater, doesn't it? Like we're sort of trained to be like, I don't know, like, you know, we've had so many like injuries, weird things happen, blooper, you know, on stage.
Yeah.
It almost feels like part of the course.
I think the difference is if it's live, you can figure out how to keep going.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
if our internet went out right now, there's no way we can continue the show. We can't even communicate with our audience really and tell them what happened.
Right.
So, and we had a thing before Noodle Pie Island where Lauren's computer was being really wonky, and she has kind of an older computer that was giving her some trouble. And I was like, this might be a thing where in the middle of the show, it just conks out on her or something. I mean, that could happen. And then what do? I don't know. We you know, I put together a quick little, we're having technical difficulties screen that I could pop on, but it's harder and more stressful because you're just left up to the technology just has to come through for you, or you're in deep trouble.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I think not this much, but I think we'll keep Daleko Home Invasion in terms of like, and I don't know, we haven't really talked about this, but so this is just me spitballing. But I think we'll have a situation where Daleko Home Invasion is just a part, sort of a little sidecar to the Daleko season, where we maybe we have interviews with artists or things like that you can check out. Probably not entertainment programming, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll definitely be a pared down. It won't be a full season like this was.
So Amy asked, and you know, I think this is kind of, she asked, what are some of your favorite bloopers, things like that from date night? And maybe you could extrapolate just DHI at large. Like, what are some things that, you know, bloopers or funny moments or mess ups? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or even just memories. I mean.
So there were a bunch. If you go back, and I encourage you all to do this because I'm sure it's so much fun to rewatch.
Yeah, right.
Some of our early date nights were terrible. I remember one where your mic wasn't working.
Yep.
And so the entire show, the host, you could barely hear. And like one thing that we learned that I didn't really know about going into this is sound is the most important thing for a live stream. If the sound sucks, the picture can be as pretty. You can have the best camera and the best lens. If you can't hear what they're saying, you're done. You're done for. Whereas the flip side is not the case. Like you can have crappy video, but if you can hear them, you can still, you know, we could still do date night if you could hear us and not quite see us very well. So yes, the audio bloopers were happening left and right before we figured out our audio situation.
Yeah.
We used to have situations where we would come on live. We still do this once in a while where we come on live and we forget we're muted. I mean, that happens to everyone on Zoom every single day. But any specific bloopers that you can think of?
Well, for me, the growing up part about DHI has been leaning into our brand. I mean, to me, it has become clear. We sort of started wanting to be like, we have to keep this really polished. It needs to feel, you know, really organized and professional and whatever. Yes, it does. But also the brand is sort of a relaxed, authentic sort of feel. So learning to lean into that authenticity has been, yeah. I mean, I think people, like, remember the day that Buzz crashed through the barrier and, like, wiped out half the studio? He was like baby Huey in here, just lost his mind. Yeah, I mean, and the audience was losing it in the chat, and Ben and I are both over here like dying because it was so loud and crazy and just, but I think those are the moments that for me, I'll never forget. Just the audience being, you guys are always so kind to us about these things.
And speaking to Amy's point, one thing that I learned when I was watching all these live streams is that it is fun it was fun for me as an audience member when things would go wrong. Not if it was wrong due to, like, I don't know how to explain this, but if the live stream that I was watching, if they weren't good at what they were doing, like if the screw up was because I felt like they weren't prepared, I was like, no, that's not fun. But if it was a screw up just because stuff happens, then it was super fun because it made me feel like I was watching, like I was, getting to see something that was special. And that sort of happens with live theater too. When you're watching live theater and something, a set piece falls off, and then the actor makes some awesome ad lib, you as an audience member feel really special that you got to see that moment. Because, and it's sort of the same way with the live streaming too. So we learned that right away, I think, is that we get less stressed about us goofing up. More for me, it's just I'm nervous about the tech screwing up.
I feel like I can also give you a Daleko After Dark example of that too. Like, my great nightmare is staring at my own face all the time and also singing for a recorded scenario, like two of my great nightmares. And so when Sophs and I decided, like, we've been wanting to do this live forever, let's put it on the stage. At first, Jack and Tony and I were like, you should have seen us. And so if you can corroborate, if there are memories you guys want to throw, DHI artists in the chat, do it.
Kendra has one that I remember.
Yeah, that one, again, like a total insane blooper.
Why were we so excited? We
were just like, we raised some fun money or something like that. We were all just really, and then we were like, see you later, everybody. And it closed out. And then in the chat was like frantic, like, you didn't say. Oh, it was so embarrassing. But like, I think the audience kind of loved it. Like then that's a memory that we all sort of carry forward. Mm-hmm. But the Daleko After Dark thing, you should have seen us. Like Tony, Jack, and me before our first Daleko After Dark. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like we were all so nervous that it was kind of strange. And there's a certain kind of nervousness that comes from being in a space where there's no audience, but you're performing and you do a thing and then there's like stone silence. It's very weird and strange. But I screwed up a song really badly. And I remember thinking like, oh, like if we were in rehearsal, I want to go back and run the song again and do the whole thing. And it just was bad. And it was one of those things where like I felt this huge release. Like the audience they don't need a final. They don't need me to come to the stage and do the thing and then it, perfectly closes. They need to watch me struggle with Sophs and Jack. And that feels like also DHI, like us just bringing something human, which is inherently theatrical to you, to say this is just us working through stuff and trying things and these are just great experiments in our minds. So you guys have just been awesome to sort of go with it.
That was a night.
Oh man, that was such a cool night.
That was
seriously
very cool.
What was it? Somebody had said you guys should do this as kind of a side gig, and we sort of do now and again help out organizations that come to us and request our services for this, for fundraiser events, and for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, of which Patrick is profoundly involved. What did we raise?
It was over $2,000.
No, it wasn't it? It was bonkers.
I'm talking about without the match, because the match was $2,000, wasn't it?
I think it was something crazy. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, it was something crazy. Yeah.
Just on our end, it was over $2,000.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts.
that to me has been very cool too, to see like week after week people come back. And like not only do you participate with us, but also you give of your time and money. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, Benj.
Yeah.
What do you want to say? Tell us like any we're at an hour. Is there other stuff you want to talk to us about or questions I haven't seen
I
them
think
recent?
we got through pretty much everything on the tech side that we, I wanted to show sort of what our tech setup was. We did that. Wanted to talk about how we got started. We did that. Show a little bit of the studio. We did that. I think that's about it.
We're lucky to have you, Benj.
Well, I'm lucky to be here, and we're lucky to have these awesome patrons.
We are lucky.
Yeah.
Truly, DHI wouldn't happen without you. I'm really glad that this kind of technology, like creative technology, is a passion of yours.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I'm going to be really happy when we get to go back on stage.
Yeah.
But this has been a lot of fun, and I've learned a bunch about this. And I think we feel good with it now. Like, we feel like we can just sort of do it. So that's good. It takes a lot of stress out of my life. And I've done it a lot too, outside of this, like with my high school kids. We've done our shows this way. And so, yeah, it's good that, it's a real bummer of a situation, obviously. This is a horrible, horrible situation, but it's, I feel lucky that we fell into this part of Daleko because it allowed me to sort of move forward with some of the other things that maybe we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
Well, and there's all these artists that we get to work with who suddenly become Daleko Arts artists because they've done the DHI season, right? I mean, so many artists who you haven't even seen on our stage, but you wouldn't but you wouldn't know it because they've been a part of the programming this year. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Amy.
Oh, Aim. Well, it's mutual.
Yeah, it totally is.
Thanks, Aim.
We've been talking for a while, so this stream's over an hour already. So
that's okay.
But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. If you guys ever have questions about tech stuff or how we do what we do, just we're real informal. You can just shoot us an email or whatever. Throw it in the chat. We'll always share what we're doing with you.
spinningtaco@dalekoarts.com.
That's right.
Just kidding. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just Ben at dalekoarts.com.
That's right.
Hey, all right. Final words, Benj.
I don't know.
I think it's cool that it marries both of your passions. That's okay. Yeah, you should. If you're not a DHI member, you probably are, right? But if you're not, you should subscribe. You should come and watch us in our wild experiment.
I am a terrible artist, physical artist. Just can't do it. I wish I could. I just can't.
Listen, we all have our strengths.
But I will say that when we do drawings for date night, I usually do about 5 or so of them and take the stupidest one.
The worst ones?
I mean, it's
He tests it out on me, and he's like, what did I draw? And if I get it wrong, then it goes into the thing.
Yeah.
Well, Benj, thank you so much. I always love to see Ben's.
Thanks, Tone.
Yeah, if you need any more information or forget the name of something or whatever, right, Benj? Reach out. Ben has done all the research in the land.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for hosting tonight, Benj.
Thanks for asking me a bunch of questions, everyone.
All right, well, listen, what do we have coming up, Ben? We've got tons of stuff coming up.
Well, as Kendra is reminding everyone, Thursday's date night, so
Yay,
see ya at date night. We are raising money for the local high school robotics team.
Yes! Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know, it's awesome.
That is amazing.
And then after that, we've got another New to Pie Island.
Great.
And then after that,
Saturday.
we've got Everything I Do It For You, which is we're bringing down Leslie Vincent and Josh Carson. They're going to do a little singy-songy ha-ha-ha thing.
Love it.
I think that's the technical term for it. And so a lot of fun stuff coming up.
And at the end of the month, February 29th, right?
Daleko After Dark.
Daleko After Dark.
That's right.
And this time the theme is heretical love
Ooh.
for the month of February.
Very nice.
Come see me at Soph's and Jackie P. Serenade you. We would love it.
Yes. Oops.
No, Benj, you're a passion project.
Wait, I was going to do this. I wanted to go out on the silly cam.
Okay.
I don't know why it keeps...
Yeah, that's snazzy.
There we go.
Didn't know we were going to be all on.
Ooh.
Oh, boy. Oh! Okay, friends.
Anyway.
Take us out, Benj.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for coming.